Welcome to Failure Stops Breakdown Friday. The world as we know it is crumbling before us. It looks like we need a big global distraction. I don't know, not like a cyber attack, but maybe something more like a global update, something to stop the spread of real information that is coming out against this inside job. We now have a state senator writing Mayorkas saying, why do I have whistleblowers that work for you? The Department of Homeland Security. Why do I have whistleblowers that are coming to me that are scared of you, that have information that this wasn't just an epic security failure, that this was more than that, and now they're afraid of you, they're afraid to come out, and so now they're having to, so now who do we have investigate this inside hit job if all of our witnesses they're scared of you? This is all coming out from Joshua Holloway, the state senator from Missouri. Anyway, bonkers news going on with the Trump mania last night at the RNC, and now we wake up to this massive global update where the internet is just a global right on the heels of me posting the picture on Facebook of Trump with his fist up, and I just said, who did it better? And it was a picture of me doing it and a picture of him doing it, and it was censored for misinformation. And then when I looked into it, it wasn't that the picture was modified or edited in any type of way. It just said that the picture was taken out of context. What context are we talking about here? Listen, the spread of information is going too fast. They're losing control. The deep state it's now proven. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's conspiracy fact that the deep state, that the three-letter agencies that have been running this country are losing it. Guys are going to shut it down this weekend. I'm telling you, they're going to shut it down this weekend. It's all going to go kaputsies, as Matthew McConaughey would say. Whatever. It's going away. They're going to have a huge... Listen, this weekend, something catastrophic is going to happen. Or this week, but probably this weekend. They have got to get the attention off of them because this is serious stuff. This is serious thing. The spread of it, they did not account for real journalism. They were like, wait a minute, we've hired journalists. We know what is supposed to be out and what's not, and what's going to hide what we've done. Just like when we did this with Kennedy or any of the other ones that we've tried to pull off, any other hit jobs that we've done for another female that's been in office. Like we kind of know the scenario, but not anymore. Internet journalism, people who have a passion to do research, people who have a passion to dig deeper than what's on the surface. They didn't account for that, folks. And now we're having to deal with it here on Failure Stop Breakdown because it's been a crazy global update that we've all had to deal with this morning. Flights are getting canceled and pushed back, and we're supposed to be in Pittsburgh here in a little bit, and now that flight's being pushed around. But before it all goes to shits, somebody who's actually seen this in real time, somebody who's actually suffered at the hands of politics, somebody who has been incarcerated, somebody like an Edward Snowden on a local basis, a you or me type guy doing everyday normal things, then railroaded by politics unjustly, unfairly, life changed, life altered. We have him here. He's part of the network now, working with the anti-hero guys. He's coming on, making his rounds. By the way, I'm wearing some of his shorts right now from a company that he sells from. I'll let him talk about that, but love the apparel coming out that he's pushing for that company. Let me just you know what, today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com/wolfpack and then factormeals.com/wolfpack50. Let me bring myself down. I got myself all worked up about the deep state. It's all about Friday breakdown. It's not about politics today, although it's a little bit about politics because this guy got politically railroaded as a police officer, as a cop. But let me reel myself back in. Let me woo-saw. Josh, give me an intro and let me just woo-saw.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Fuck it, now's not the time to calm down. Now's the time to panic. It's time to freak out and lose our shit. It's all going to hell, folks. Who cares? Who saw my ass? I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Doing it for the clicks. Got a lot of people in the live chats today. Appreciate y'all. Davey, Trumpomania, he says, low Ren. What's up, homie? Reginald Rutherford says, I dig so deep. I know. I knew that was coming when I said it. I went deep state on my wife this morning. My Bosco Autry says, and respectfully, I went deep state on her. My father-in-law is stuck in Montana because of all of this. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all over the globe. It's a little bit crazy. I'm going to the airport after this. I don't know if I'm flying out after this show or if I'm staying here. I don't know, but I am wearing my Failure to Stop t-shirt that one of you fans made me, and I really appreciate that. Let me bring on our special guest today who knows all about being railroaded politically. Yousef Hafza.
Yep, you said it right.
Of course I said it right, dude, because I'm a culturally intelligent human being. Now that my monitor is up, let me move your face, your beautiful face, to my monitor so that I'm not looking down at a laptop like a rookie. There we go. That looks good. Now it looks like I'm looking at you. It looks like I'm looking at the camera, but really what I'm doing is looking at you. This is something you know a lot about because you're now a producer over at the Anti-Hero podcast, doing a fantastic job. Welcome to the world of live production. It's not easy, is it?
No, actually, it's not. It takes up a lot of time from the family, work, everything else. Yeah, it's stressful.
Let me tell you this: give it about 2 years, and it will get easier. I can remember. So I've been in 4 studios now, 3 studios now, 3 studios. We've moved studios 3 times. Once when I worked with the major network, they hired a real producer, somebody that was supposed to know what they were doing. He really didn't. But my camera's all crooked. Who cares? Anyway, so I remember the first one having just crazy equipment, top of the line, $6,000 camera, $2,000 board, all the shits and things, and nothing ever worked. And we would be there an hour early. The producer was there 2 hours early, and I used to say, dude, how is it that you work this hard? You show up an hour early. Like, we have all of this equipment and you still just can't turn this fucking in 2022. You can't just turn this shit on and it just comes on. It's got to be different every time. Like, I haven't been in here since yesterday. What has changed? And then I've got rid of that guy because it was just too much. Moved into a new studio, dumbed the equipment down just a little bit, but then started doing lives.
Yeah.
And then everything sucked again. And now I'm in my own studio and we still have problems to this day. But you know what, Yousef? When I'm watching other podcasts and they're having problems, I stick around longer because I know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And it makes me more empathetic to their situation.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we get into the studio early. We work on a couple topics and then we start testing everything, and it's the same thing every day, man. One audio, one mic won't work, one camera turns off, and it becomes just stressful, but we pull it off just before it starts, sometimes during the show. But yeah, we completely get it, man.
Yeah, so I go back, I dumb it down to its most simplest form, which even now, we were in here an hour early, we made some content early. I switched my camera to run right through, not the board, but the computer, because that's less that can go wrong, right? It's cool to have the board. I have the board when I have multiple people. When it's just me, I go straight into the computer. It's one less thing. So we do all of that, and now look at my camera. It looks like an earthquake has happened, which I'm about to get up and fix as soon as I turn this over to you. But Yousef, I am going to turn it over to you really quick. Before I do, though, you're sitting in an apparel shop. Tell me about the shop that you're sitting in really quick. Blow him up so I can go fix my camera.
Yeah, this is my brick and mortar store in Orlando. It's called 1838 Tax Supply. It's a, I would say, not necessarily just first responder, but we do sell a lot of gear, equipment, 2A community. We do sell barrels, slides, optics, knives, magazines, gun bags, shirts, hats, police equipment for their vests, range belts, holsters, you name it. Other than needing to have an FFL, which I don't have yet, everything else we do sell, and that's where I'm at.
Oh, awesome. I see there's some, is that Refracted Wolf apparel behind you?
Yeah, we have Refracted Wolf apparel in here as well. Yep.
I was wearing that this morning. I was wearing my fuck around and find. No, it was my fuck you, I won't do what they told me shirt.
Yeah, we have that shirt too.
Love that shirt. I was wearing it this morning. I'm going to wear it tomorrow in Pittsburgh. So I took it off, put it on the Failure to Stop. I'm going to fly with this shirt, and then I'm going to spend my first day wearing that shirt. But I've got my combat iron apparel shorts with me, wearing them right now. And they match, because I got the tiger stripes that are like the pink blue too, matches this shirt perfectly. So I'm going to look real good on the airplane if it takes off today. Yousef, let me see your hair really quick. I saw some live shit yesterday where they were making fun of your hair.
Yeah, my hair's
it looks nice.
It's normally I usually dye it blue. Let me just get this back on. So I go to a lot of Magic games, and we got some courtside seats, the Orlando Magic, so we sit courtside, whole season. So whenever I do go to games, I usually have my hair dyed blue, Magic fan, and even when I travel, I'll hit some games up and sit courtside at different games and stuff like that. So now I left it.
If you had the colored hair and then you had like the nose loop, I wouldn't even let you on the show. That's too much mental illness.
Somebody said I'm a plant. I would think if I had that for sure. Yeah, it'd be mental illness, right? It's real. So
yeah. You always know mental illness when they have the trinket in their nose. Like that's a tall tale sign to tread lightly. Like I don't know what they suffer from, but like they're suffering. Just tread lightly. But I'm glad that they started wearing those because now I know, and I don't have to like put my foot in my mouth. I'm like, oh, okay.
But yeah, that's the.
Put those up there.
A lot of people have asked on the chat. Yeah, I mean, I could probably get the magnets and do it. Yeah.
Yousef, you have an amazing story, man. I got to meet you in Orlando or Kissimmee, whatever you call it, and hang out. We had a really great time, man. And I fell in love with your story. It's heartbreaking. It's a story that, seriously is like probably one of my biggest fears in life. It was a big fear when I was a cop, way before I was a podcaster and influencer. I was not putting myself out there. I was doing some wine writing, some wine reviews, teaching some wine classes, but being on a podcast and speaking my mind was not a part of my life. And one of the things that gave me the most anxiety was saying something on social media, doing something, or having an incident like yours that catches me in the crosshairs publicly, nationally, and then puts me in jail. You went through all of those at the same exact time. Yeah. On accident. Why don't you tell us what happened?
Yeah, it was in it was Father's Day 2016 in June. I was off duty. I worked the night before. I was on a midnight shift, a deputy in Central Florida, and I was going on somewhere around like my 10th year on duty. And I got off that night and slept at my ex-wife's house. We have 2 kids in common. And that morning I left to go get my tire changed because I had a flat tire. So I changed out my spare, went to go get my tire changed. On my way back, I had a brief encounter with another vehicle, which almost ran a stop sign, almost collided with my vehicle from a stop sign. And I was on a main road. I kept going, and that's what initiated the contact from there.
So you said you were spending the night at your ex-wife's house. I just like the totality of these stories. Was she your ex-wife at the time, or was she your wife?
Yes, she was my ex-wife. We got divorced around February, and my incident happened in June. So we were still kind of on and off. Gotcha. Newly divorced, trying to get through it and figure it out.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so you get up in the morning and somebody runs a stop sign ish, slow roads, that almost hits you, which is like pretty common these days. Like I think it's getting more and more common. Where people like these street thug takeovers, like if somebody's in a Dodge Charger, a Dodge Challenger, a Chrysler 300, you know what I mean? You can almost expect some kind of road buffoonery is going to happen. I don't know what it is that attracts these cars to being car assholes. I can only imagine, was it one of those 3 cars that...
No,
it wasn't one of those 3.
No, it's funny because I have a Dodge Challenger outside wrapped for my company. But
God, of course you do. Have you seen all the videos where those Challengers are like doing donuts in the intersections?
Yeah.
It's always a Charger, a Challenger, or a Chrysler 300. Why is that? Like, I guess because they're just fast and American.
I guess it's they're in the rap videos and stuff like that. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. But the car that they were driving was a Honda. Like an older model Honda Civic, and I was driving a Hyundai Elantra at the time. Yeah, I had tinted windows on it. You couldn't really see me. As I passed the stop sign, as they didn't run the stop sign, it just looked like he was going to try to beat the traffic and come out without stopping. And when he saw my car last second, he hit the brakes. I hit the brakes. I kind of swerved, and I saw both of the occupants throw their hands up in the air from the car. It was a Hispanic male driver and a black male passenger. And I just kept going. Business as normal, getting to my destination.
Did you flick him off?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't do anything to him. Nope.
I never do. I don't engage in road rage at all.
Yeah.
One, because what are we like? I know I'm not going to pull over and fight you. I know it's not going to happen.
It's such a fucking dangerous.
Yeah. So
it's
I don't do it.
Dangerous equation, man. When you, especially, and it happens so much, and we're seeing it more and more now. But even when I'm on the road now, I see cars just going at it, and you'll see people with kids in the car and stuff, and it's like, man, let it fucking go, dude. Just let it go.
Dude, I was in a car with this older gentleman who I'd had like a lunch meeting with, and he got cut off, and he flicked the car off that cut us off, and that car was flicking him off. The passenger was in the back seat yelling. He was yelling at them, and I'm sitting there in the passenger seat going like, yo, how about you not do this? I don't want to be caught up in this bull. I could care less. Like, if you cut me off, I'm just going to assume you cut me off. You had good reason to do it. Like, maybe you were disciplining your child because your child was being an asshole, or maybe a water bottle fell out of your water bottle holster. Like, I mean, probably not, but like, I would just like to believe that that's it, so that I don't end up in some kind of a crazy situation. Play the video, Josh. Josh, stop being afraid. Just fucking throw the videos up. There it is. This is, have you seen this video here? This is a guy gets out of his car. He's got a gun in his hand. It's down by his side. He punches a truck door with the gun down by his side. Truck driver pulls out a gun and blasts him in the throat. Does that kill him?
It's justified.
I'm pretty sure he died.
Yeah,
It's
right to the neck.
getting all,
That is right.
it's all over social media right now.
That is right in the throat.
Yeah, somebody
But, you
just
know,
sent that to me. Yeah.
And here's the other thing. This is the problem I have, and I brought this up when we were covering the airman that died in Florida, answering the door with a gun down by his side. Like, again, the theatrics in having a gun. You guys are pretending. It's like females who are pretending to protect the president because we're pretending that DEI is a thing, and it works. Like, you can only pretend so long until you're called out for it. If you're 5'4", you cannot protect somebody that's 6'4".
Yeah.
Because there's 2 feet missing that you can take a bullet for. Your job is to be a bullet sponge. You can't take a bullet if you are, not the same size or bigger. That, find a bigger girl. I don't know, but you can't pretend, right? And so when you just put a girl there to pretend, or you're carrying your gun down by your arm to pretend that you're armed, you're going to get hurt, guys. Like, answering your door because there's a threat at the door. If you hold your gun down by your side and you open the door and that is a threat, he's going to kill you because your gun's down by your side. Like, if we're going to carry our guns and we're going to do things with guns, let's not pretend, because you're going to get shot. So this guy that came out of his car, if he thought there was a real use for his gun, why is his gun in his left hand, down below his pocket waistline? Of course you're going to get shot in the throat from a guy.
Well, I mean, if that's his vehicle, you see he blocked his truck also, and he got out and continued the contact. So this is a justified. I don't know the details. Just from this video right here, again, no details. I'm saying this guy was justified. He walks up with a gun in his hand. This guy had every right to put him down.
And he punches your car door.
Yeah.
Like, how? Like, I'm trying to figure out what in the world you could do to me on the road that makes me want to do that.
He raises the gun up, right? Is that what he just did? Did he raise the gun
play it
up
again.
into the window?
Let's see it really quick.
He raises it into the window.
So he's got the gun. He switches
hands.
it to his left hand, but he just put his hand up like that. Now, when you put your hand up like that, I bet you the driver of the truck, when that guy went like this, like, he can't see him switch hands.
Well, he gave him enough time. I would have shot him the second I seen that gun in his hand. When he exited, he would have been down the moment he walked out with a gun in his hand. What's he going to do? Shake my hand with a gun?
Yeah, right. And you've been there, done that, so I believe that you would do that. He's not just saying it. Guys, spoiler alert, he's not just saying that's what I would do. If I was in that situation, that's what no, this guy actually fucking did that. So we're going to get into it. So the stop sign thing happens, the road rage, you don't flick them off. Nope. You just keep going on status quo because you're a cop, right? Like, we get flicked off as cops all the time. It's like no sweat off our back.
Well, I didn't. They threw up their hands, and I passed them. I had no reason to turn around. And why'd you throw up? I didn't give a shit. I kept going about my destination. And I'm just going to kind of bounce back and forth. He later testified that his passenger looked at him and said, "Hey, let's go confront him." So they came out, and instead of going left to their destination, they made a right and began trying to catch up to me. I was already well ahead of them because I was already on my path. They had to wait for traffic and come out. And as they began driving, they started to pass in and out, weave between cars. And the lane went from 2 lanes to 1 lane. And I can see them in my rear view later on, kind of sticking the nose of his car out onto oncoming traffic and bouncing back in his lane when a car would come. And as soon as the car's cleared, he would accelerate around traffic on the wrong side of the road, past vehicles to catch up to me.
So you saw all this.
I saw that as I was getting further
Now,
on.
did you
I
think
noticed
they're
it.
coming for you?
Well, a part of me noticed that they were still driving, but this is a heavy populated neighborhood area. I worked the city for almost 8 years. I knew it. There was so many roads to go down that I thought maybe at some point they're probably going to turn or leave. So I didn't think anything. I better call the cops right now. I honestly didn't think that they were going to make it all the way to me. Plus, there were still some cars between us up until the point he got behind me when he passed more vehicles when there was no cars. And this is important for later on what I'm going to tell you. I told investigators that they were driving on the wrong side of the road, passing vehicles to catch up to me, which the investigators told me I was lying, essentially. So as they did that, they ended up behind me. Eventually, they ended up behind me. And as we passed, they didn't do anything. As we passed all the houses, the area I was hitting was very secluded. It was empty because there was a lot of construction. It was still a new road that they had just paved to kind of alleviate traffic. And I lived on, my ex-wife lived down that street, which was a new subdivision. So cow pasture, cows, there was nothing else there where I was heading to get to her house. And that's where they were behind me up to that point.
And so, okay. And then now do you your firearm is where at this point? Like,
it's in my waistband. I carry.
Yeah, because
no
you're a cop.
secret. I carry now. I always carry. I'm always armed. It was in my waistband.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as you should be, like as every off-duty cop should. I mean, I can't think of a reason why I would be out and about and not have my gun. I know when people are like, "Why do you have your gun on you? Why do you feel the need to be here with your gun on?" I feel the need to be everywhere with my gun.
I think every citizen should be armed. I believe in that heavily. Like not just cops. I think people should be armed, protect their families. Look at what's happening in churches, grocery stores, everywhere you go. There's some maniac who walks in with a gun.
There's a story
and sits there and just shoots people like ducks, and nobody does anything about it.
There's a story that just came out of Georgia. It happened in 2015, but it's all like the civil suit and everything just got cleared up. But a logger in a logging truck was sitting at the logging plant, and a fugitive jumped into his logging truck and held him hostage and made him ram a police barricade, and the police shot the logger in the truck. And so all this Supreme Court law and they had to try to figure out, like, are the cops responsible? Like, who's responsible for this guy getting shot? He was innocent, and there was never any precedent. There was never any law written about can a cop use deadly force against a hostage if the hostage is forced to use deadly force on the cops. Yeah. And so, because the cops were being civilly sued or being held civilly liable. Now, I truly don't believe that the cops knew that the hostage was driving. You know what I mean?
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure.
And it is tough because you, as a cop, you're responding to a kidnapping situation, a hostage situation, and all of a sudden you've got this semi truck, barreling towards your barricade. I guess you probably wouldn't think, oh shit, the hostage is driving. You know what I mean? You would just. Yeah. Well, now I guess that's something you have to think about, but. Okay, so your gun's in your waistband. You're on this cow pasture road. There's no reason these guys should be behind you at this point. Kind of like what was going through your head then?
Well, everything changed when he pulled up alongside of me. When there was no cars, he pulled up alongside my vehicle. He was on the wrong side of the road. The passenger was leaning out of the window, yelling at me to pull over, and using some profanity. And then he swerved his vehicle towards mine to try to like sideswipe me or get me to brake. I did end up braking, and then I swerved around his car. And I started driving on the wrong side of the road to get past him because now he was in my lane, and I couldn't go any further into the grass because it was curbed up at that point. So as I continued driving on the left side, he began accelerating to my right side, and now the driver was on my passenger side, of course, doing the same thing, arm out the window, yelling, throwing up, his hands, trying to get me to pull over, and he began kind of swerving his vehicle slowly towards mine to get me to slow down as if he's going to hit my car. By the time I slowed down, the passenger opened his door and got out of the vehicle and began walking towards my vehicle, towards the front of my car. Looked like he was going to come towards my side, which I thought he was going to open my door. I drove towards him as if I was going to hit him with the vehicle, and he jumped back, got back in his car. I accelerated past him now. I'm past him.
So wait, because I don't want to get too far into this. We're trying to like break it all down. I mean, is it fair to say that you were running away from them?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, yep.
So like the picture being painted here is they're desperately trying to get you to stop. You're like, I'm not stopping. Like I'm
4.5
more or less
miles.
scared of you. Like I don't want to stop because I don't know what your intentions are. So I'm just going to keep going. Again, these are things that keep me awake at night, but what helps me sleep is GhostBed at ghostbed.com/wolfpack. Right now, GhostBed's offering 50% off to anybody who is a fan of ours. All you have to do is use Wolfpack. Now, when I first started my relationship with GhostBed, beds that are made in the good old USA, it was like we need to figure out a badge number or a way to produce a badge to give them 50% off. That's a lot. It ended up being too complicated. So we were like, screw it. If they're a fan of the show, they're a fan of law enforcement, that's good enough. We're just going to go ahead and 50% off. They use the promo code Wolfpack. Now, Ghost Beds are they're one of the America's oldest running bed companies in existence. I've been to the facility down in Florida. Actually, it's in Fort Lauderdale. Went down there with Conservative Anthony, the influencer Conservative Ant. We toured the facility, family run, and when I mean family run, I mean like one of the sons works in customer service. The wife's worked in the pillowcase because she's got curly hair, sensitive hair, and so like they have these silk pillowcases that are great for women and for women with wet hair and all these things. The beds have the cooling technology. They work with like Serena Williams, Venus Williams, like the tennis players, to build beds that have like copper lining in them for healing technology. They have these adjustable bases. They have the massage mode, zero gravity massage mode. So it's not like these like mechanical things like punching you in the back. It's the bed fills up with air, like hydraulics, and it'll like pop your back. Man, it's incredible. After a long day of jujitsu, I will lay on that thing for like 30, 45 minutes. It also has like a sleep mode, meditation modes for everything. Also the Ghost Bed pillows, which I'm in love with. I've slept on competitor pillows. Down pillows is what I call those. They're trash. I'll never sleep on a regular pillow ever again. Ghost Bed pillows are super big and fluffy with the cooling technology. I've had people that have come to my house and they're like, the pillow's wet in my room. I'm like, nope, it's just very cold because of the cooling technology and the gel in the thing. It makes it feel wet. And it's awesome because never at any point at night do you get hot while you're sleeping. And it's, it's summertime here in North Carolina. You're in Florida, I don't have to tell you. So, you can stay hard while staying cool. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to do when I'm in my bed at night. I don't want to stay hard, but I want to stay cool. You know what I'm saying? So also factormeals.com/wolfpack50, 50% off your first time order off of Factor Meals. These are chef prepared, fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door so that you're not having to do meal prep on your own. You're not driving to the grocery store, buying all these ingredients, coming home, keep cooking them individually, and then trying to stack them in your refrigerator with all your various amounts of dishwares and Rubbermaids and all those things. No, these are fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door. You can do 1 meal a week, 2 meals a week, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It doesn't matter. You do the breakfast shakes, whatever you want. You can pick out calorie conscious meals. You're trying to lose weight, protein heavy. You're trying to get swole. You can do vegan, vegetarian, whatever it is. Factor Meals has a meal plan for you. They deliver it to your door. They stack up perfectly, color-codedly into your refrigerator very nicely, and you can heat them up in 2 minutes, even in the peasant microwave at your first responder facility, whether that be a firehouse or a police station, or maybe you're a school teacher. I don't know. Maybe you're an EMT, paramedic, whatever. All of those government-ran organizations have the shittiest microwaves. These things still cook in 2 minutes because they're never frozen. They were never frozen. So it's very quick to heat them up. You get a 30-minute lunch break. You don't want to sit by the microwave for 8 minutes. 2 minutes, get your meal, get in, get out. They're delicious. They're absolutely phenomenal. Guys, last but not least, October 18th is our big anti-hero failure to stop donut shop. 2 cups, 1 donut. Eddie Gallagher, Kurt Cobain, just kidding on Kurt Cobain, but Kyle Rittenhouse, every Conservative Anthony, big giant meetup in Orlando. All the Black Rifle Coffee guys are going to be there. We're getting the hotel thing for discount booked right now. We'll let you know. But for right now, plan on being in Orlando October 18th. We got a comedy show that Friday night, concert. Saturday, Yousef will be there in the house. We've got live podcast, live comedy show, the Black Rifle Coffee Band. It's going to be extraordinary. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guest speakers like Eddie Gallagher, Kyle Rittenhouse, Yousef. I'm sure you'll get up and talk some. It's just going to be a lot of fun, a lot of like-minded, first responder friendly event. That's if we're still all here on October 18th and we haven't been destroyed by nuclear war, which I do think is coming sooner than you think. All right, let's get back to the story and finish this thing out. So you're scared which is fine. You're allowed to be scared. Like, you should be scared. You should not want to have to kill somebody. You should not want to have to be in a confrontation with somebody. You should be like, fuck, I don't want this to happen. Not, I'm scared because I'm not prepared, but I'm scared because I am prepared. Because I know that I'm going to fucking kill you. Because you're a trained dude.
Well, yeah, and so and I'll put this out there with the whole scared part too. People ask a lot, why didn't you call 911? There's a lot of questions come up that really can't be answered in that moment. I tell people when things started escalating, it was escalating so fast to the level that now I was worried about being rammed in my vehicle. I was trying to avoid this lunatic in his car from hitting my car, and I was trying to get around him. By the time I got around his vehicle on that second time, he began driving, accelerating after me again to my left side. And on the third time, when he pulled alongside of me, he tried to block my car in at the intersection, and I was able to get around his car. There was a vehicle parked to the right of me, which normally I would park there with my kids, and people would park and walk and look at the cows and walk down the sidewalks. There was a vehicle parked there, which I told investigators, when I saw that vehicle, I knew I had another 2-mile stretch with no one around that I would have to go south on. When I saw that vehicle, I pulled around his. That's when I stopped my vehicle and I got out, and I basically began to tell them, I'm good, I don't have a problem. At the same time that I did that, the Hispanic male got out, and he began running wide in a circle, and he was kind of throwing his hands up to his waist like, what's up? And he was yelling N-word, F-word, everything you can think of. What's up? You want this, pussy? You want this? And throwing up his hands like this. As he was running wide, coming away from the car, the black male passenger got out of his car and began running at me in a full beeline. I don't know, 6'4", 270, 240, something like that. Big male coming right at me. All I could do was lock on him and say, hey, stop, because I saw him coming at me. The Hispanic male, I lost sight of him. Everything just began to get really dark. All of a sudden, in my eyes, I just lost visual of everything else. I saw this kid, and I testified to it later, that he began running at me, and he turned his hip in a bladed position while he was running, and he began reaching. And when he did that, I saw him blade and turn reach. I pulled my firearm out. Without even hesitating, I fired 6 rapid shots, which I didn't know I fired 6 shots. I pulled up and I began firing the second I pulled out, just because the distance was closing so fast. I pulled out, began firing. By the time when I stopped firing is when he stopped in his tracks. And when he stopped, his arms fell, his head dropped down. He didn't say anything at all. It was fast. He dropped his head and he fell straight back. He didn't say anything at all. He hit the ground and his head bounced off the floor. I remember seeing it like it was yesterday. When his head hit the ground, his arms kind of fell out like that, and that's when I realized that's when I saw everything, and I saw the male screaming to my right. The driver, Hispanic male, popped out into my vision. He was kind of to my right, and he turned and began running for his life for the car that he left. He began running to the car screaming, and when he ran to the car, he ran behind it and went to the front of the vehicle. So the car is sideways now, and I'm facing it. He ran behind the vehicle, went to the front, and got behind the engine compartment and began propping his head up and down. So all I can see was a guy in the ground not moving and a guy behind the vehicle propping up and down. And I was like, oh, shit, this guy's going to fucking shoot at me from behind his car, So as soon as I saw that, I jumped in my car, ducked down through it and drive, and just fucking gunned it and drive and called 911 while I was driving.
Wow. Did the guy have a gun?
No, they never found a gun. He had the only thing that he had. And I didn't see this, so I'm not going to make an excuse or anything. I shot him, and I was justified, and I was going to protect myself no matter what. I didn't have to see a gun, but what he had was he had a full-size pistol tattooed on his waist where he was putting his hand. Full-size pistol tattooed that we weren't allowed to show the jury during the trial. They blocked it. They didn't want the jury to see it because it would be prejudice to the jury to see a big gun tattooed on the front of his waist. They didn't want him to see. It had a stock and everything, fully gripped. It was all tattooed like a real gun.
Because he carries a gun so much right there that he felt the need to tattoo one right there.
Well, we'll say this point here. He was on felony probation the day he died for having a gun as a felon. He had 2 SWAT search warrants on his home for weapons. He got arrested 2 months prior for having 2,000 images of child pornography.
What?
He had battery charges on pregnant female that he beat up his ex. He had multiple battery charges of reports where he beat people up and they were victims of his crimes. And the first thing that comes out on the news is his family was crying, saying he was a drummer in the church. And this is an innocent man shot like a dog in the street by this rogue white police officer.
Wow. Holy shit. Which, I've experienced that on a smaller level, my really close friend, I'm the godfather of his children. He shot somebody here that we all knew. He had felony warrants. This guy was a scumbag, leader of the scumbags. Pulls a cop out on my buddy. He shoots him in the gun and in the chest. And the same thing. The media was like this. He was a carpenter and, was big leadership in the church. So I've seen that happen, and it's so disheartening. But what's worse for you is that, was it the department? Who was it that determined you're going to go sit in jail for a long time for this?
It was the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The agents took over the investigation because the city that it happened in, I was a cop there for 8 years prior. So they didn't want to take the investigation because I was a former cop. And then the county that it happened in, I was a deputy at that time in that county. So I now essentially have two agencies involved that I was affiliated with. They both didn't want to take this on because there was so much tension with law enforcement in the community at the time with a lot of shootings happening. So this now happened. I was off duty. I never engaged them. They came after me. So the Florida Department of Law Enforcement came in, and instantly from the moment they made contact with me, they were bent out of hell to come after me because it was just from the demeanor of the agents, the way they talked to me. When I got an attorney and I did my interview, it was a full interrogation, and no, that didn't happen.
Tell me about that. Like, how did you know, like, it was not going? And I've talked in length on other podcasts in my dealings with internal affairs. I think what's the internal affairs podcast? I think you've been on it too, Moreland.
Yeah, I wasn't on that one. I think he came to our studio, but I wasn't on his podcast. But it wasn't the internal affairs process.
I know, but it's like when you're going through an investigation, like you know when it's not going right, and like when it's not fair, like they've already judged you. No?
Yeah, well, it can feel like that because most of the time when there's an internal investigation, there's not a lot of communication with you about what's taken place, right? They're not similar to, I guess it's similar to investigations outside where people really want answers and they don't get them. So I can understand that. And internal affairs investigations, sometimes you're really left in the dark. You're not really sure where this path is going, or that you're how deep into an investigation they are. But this wasn't an internal investigation. This was the state of Florida came in, and I didn't have any information about the shooting. I didn't have any information about how many shots I had, the shell casings. I didn't know anything about the total amount. I knew obviously I was in the shooting. I don't remember how many times I shot. I couldn't testify to any of that yet. When I went to my interview, it was 3 days later, and I sat in an interview, and they began asking me what happened. As I began asking, they began challenging me with, "You have 10 years experience. You're this amazing officer who's proactive. Why would this guy follow you? Why would this guy be so mad? I mean, did you shoot him a bird? It's totally fine." I said, "No, my windows were 5% dark tinted. I never said nothing to him. He wouldn't see me." "Well, you don't know that. Did you roll down your windows?" "No." "Did you splash his car with your wipers? Did you do something?" They were trying to find a reason to justify his actions. And they were trying to justify a reason to charge me with murder, which they were already planning to do. So they had the charge in their mind. They were trying to find the element to meet for the murder charge. So they're trying to walk me into their charges. And I said, "No, this is what happened. I was there." And he said, "No, that's not what happened. Nobody else called and said he was driving on the wrong side of the road. Why didn't you call 911? You couldn't just pick up your phone and call 911. Hey, you know where the police department is." It became their narrative on them not believing my story. But fuck my story. What can you prove? Right? They're going after my story, going, "It doesn't make sense." And I'm like, "Dude, that's what happened." And they're like, "No, that's not what happened." And we began getting into an argument at that time. Once we get into an argument, that basically the interview was coming to a conclusion. And I said, "Look, man, this is what happened. Take it for what you want. I was there. That's not what happened, what you're telling me." And the agent looked at me and said, "No, that's not what happened." I said, "Well, then fucking prove it." And I think it was 3 or 4 days later, my lawyer called me and he said, "Hey, the state called and said you can go get your phone from evidence." They took my cell phone because they thought I knew the guy, and there was rumors going around. This is what they created: rumors going around that I had shot the guy because he was sleeping with my ex-wife, and I didn't know him. And that's how deep their motive for murder was. They wanted to find a motive to pin me and go, "This guy had to fucking kill him because something was wrong." And I said, "No, this guy came after me because he's a dirtbag. That's what he does." And I defended myself. About 3 or 4 days later, my lawyer called me and he said, "Hey, go get your phone from evidence." FDLE called, said you can go get your phone. I was out of the county because there was protests taking place about me. And there was some safety bulletins going out saying, hey, there's threats to hurt law enforcement regarding your case. It's safest for you to leave with your family. The sheriff's office gave me another gun, and they told me you'll be back to work in about 2 weeks. Just leave. I left, and the protests were taking place in the county. The local police department, which was Palm Bay at the time, which I used to work for, they marched with the family, which was disheartening to see because it really put a narrative against me, in that moment. So they marched with the family and the justice rants. I came back to get my cell phone from evidence a couple of days later. At the time, I was cordial with my wife. Of course, she was supporting me through that hard time. And I looked at her and the kids, and I said, I'll be back. Kissed my family. I drove to the local FDLE office, and I didn't know they were stationed. They were in the parking lot watching me. I didn't know that at the time. So I pulled up. They called me on the phone and said, hey, do you have a gun on you, which is critical information? I said, yes. He never said leave it in the car. He just said, okay, thank you. I walk up to the door. I try to open it. It's locked. These are things I'll never forget. I heard the deadbolt open, and he opened the door, and the agent was wearing a suit. He looked at me and he said, hey, brother, how you feeling today? I said, good, man. I'm feeling great. He said, come on in. Opened up. I walked in. He shut the door, and he locked the top and the bottom. And he turned towards me. And he said, your phone is right inside there. The door was opened down the hall. I can see it. He began walking with me and had me talking. And he said, how are you feeling? Are you going to do a psych? Did you go to the psych yet? I said, no, I'm going to do the psych. I haven't went yet. I have to go before I go back on duty. And as I'm breaking the plane, I'm entering that door. He said, your phone is on the table. As I walked inside, there was a team of agents on the other side of the wall waiting for me, lined up like the Ninja Turtles. They're wearing all their suit. They're wearing all their vests, ready to go. As I came through that corner, I got stunned by the fact that they began yelling and jumped on me. So all I heard was police, police, don't move. And everybody was screaming. It was fucking chaos. They jumped on me and took me down. And I just remember just not knowing what was going on. And they picked me up, and I can still remember the agent's hands shaking. They were all shaking. When they cuffed me, my handcuffs were sideways. My arms were really awkward because everybody was in fear that I realized. And as soon as they cuffed me, they immediately, lifted my shirt up and they went straight for my gun. They pulled a 40 caliber Glock out of my waistband that was issued by the sheriff's office. And they sat me down. And then as soon as that happened, a flood of agents came in from another door wearing suits. One of them took a picture of me. They were all on their phones. Hey, he's in custody. We got him. Yep, he's here. There was people texting. It was like the Twilight Zone. I said it before. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was sitting there just confused. But everybody had on fugitive from FDLE fugitive squad from Orlando. And I sat there, and one of the agents came out that interviewed me, kind of walked in, had a smile on his face. And he pulled a paper up to my face, and he said, hey, man, we got an arrest warrant for you this morning. You're being charged with second-degree murder with a firearm and attempted murder. And I just remember asking him, why didn't you guys does my lawyer know this? Why didn't you guys let me turn myself in? I was confused. He said, well, we did this for your safety and ours. I said, fuck, man, I didn't even do nothing. And he said, it's nothing personal. And I remember looking at him. I said, fuck yeah, it is. It's personal. Yeah, it is now. And I was upset. I was hurt. Felt betrayed. It fucking upsets me, man. And I think about it.
No, do you know who this agent is? Have you reached out to him since?
Fuck him. No, I'll never reach out. He'll never come across me. It's not a threat. I'll spit on these guys if I see them. They're pussies. They're cowards. Yeah. To uphold the Constitution. It's bullshit, man. This is forget about my job. For this to happen, and I know it happens to a lot more people now. Obviously, I went through it, and people complain all the time they're innocent and in jail. This shit happens. We're not perfect, but it's real. And to fold to the politics, to have this agenda where he posted on there, FDLE posted on their Twitter account or some bullshit. Brevard County deputy arrested. It was all over the news before I hit the county jail. The media was waiting for me there. They knew. They plotted and planned with the media. I was their parade. I was their trophy. And my life didn't matter is what the state was telling me, what agents were saying. Fuck your life. Your life doesn't matter. We're going to do what the community wants so that we don't burn our city down. And you can go fight for your own life, you and your family. We don't care about you. That's essentially what they did to me. And I'm not holding myself higher than any community member, any citizen of this country. I served 10 years on the streets prior to this happening. I've never been in trouble. I've been around many victims of crimes where I've attempted to help. I'm not perfect, but I never went out there and hurt people. I've got a lot of awards for dealing with the community. I loved the community I served. For them to do this to me, it was insulting. I was upset. but it was a process that was going to break me down that I didn't know yet. I was still very weak at that moment because I've never been through it. So immediately I made the first phone call to my ex-wife. She didn't pick up the phone. I called my mom. She didn't answer, and I called my sister, who answered. They had a phone on speaker so they can hear. And I remember telling my sister, "Hey, I just got arrested, charged with second-degree murder." And she was silent on the phone. And I said, "Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be all right." Just thinking about it upsets me. It upsets me. I'm happy where I'm at today in life, but the shit that they put my family through, it wasn't even just about me. It was what my family went through. My father had a stroke while I was in jail. My mom, of course, being upset. My sisters, to treat me like a tyrant, to treat me like a piece of shit the way they did, to lie in the media. These agents are scumbags. They talk about their cops. These agents are scumbags. And to go further into that is, this case went on. Well, I went to jail. Let me just tell you that I went to jail, and I was in solitary confinement. I sat in jail for about 3 months almost in solitary confinement. I didn't get outside I went outside and saw daylight 3 times in 3 months almost. I didn't have a window in my cell. I sat down and walked in circles every single day, talked to myself, counted the bricks on the wall. And it got to the point where inmates began talking to me, through the walls. We began yelling to each other, talking. And I began, just the nights in, nights out. They had me on suicide watch the first week. So they had me naked with no clothes on. And I said, "I'm not suicidal." And they said, "It doesn't matter. We're going to put you on suicide watch. We're going to override this." The level of embarrassment, the level of dishonor and breakdown that takes place, I think for me as not being a police officer, but for me feeling so hopeless and lonely at that time, didn't have any support really from the law enforcement community. Everybody was kind of backed out. And I take my emotions out of it. I think about it. A lot of them didn't want to be, caught up in the felony charges that I had, and stuff like that. A lot of people backed away from me. And I sat in solitary confinement. I sat in isolation in the first week with no clothes on, naked. And after about the first week, when they realized I wasn't suicidal, they gave me clothes, and they moved me to my cell. And that's when the inmates started reaching out to me through the wall and saying, "Hey man, you're in the newspaper. We see you. You're a cop." And I didn't know what to say. I just said, "Yeah, the guy came after me or whatever." And they began saying, "It's all good, man. Like, fuck that guy. It looks like in the paper they attacked you." And then somebody else yelled really loud, "Hey, don't say shit. They're going to try to use it against you. They'll testify against you. Like, don't talk to them." So that happened. And I don't know if you want to ask me a follow up, take a break, or ask me a follow up before I continue on, because I can keep going.
No, I mean, it's just, I can't even imagine, man, like that first night in jail. I mean, just the loneliness, the despair. Again, I tell you, this is my biggest fear. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that. I guess I want to get to the end of the story. I have questions, but I want to ask them at the end because. Yeah,
I can move on fast. I'll tell you this much.
Take your time. I don't care. This story is, we're all locked in. We're all locked in, and you have us for as long as you want.
Yeah, I knew the first couple of days was difficult. The first couple of weeks were difficult. Feeling like I'm going to get out within 24 hours. The judge denied my bond twice. Both of my bond hearings, I was denied bond. And I didn't know why. I was telling my lawyer, "How can I get denied bond? I've never done anything. I have ties to the community. My kids live here. Why is this happening to me?" And he said, "I don't know. It's just too much shootings going on right now with the cops. Like they're not letting you out." So I sat there and I had to build myself up. There was a point in time where I had to tell myself, you got to snap out of this. You have to stop being a victim in your mind right now. And you got to start surviving right now. It's critical that I change my mindset and stop feeling sorry right now and fight with this later. I had to start living. And there came a point in time where I began, diving deeper, just getting closer to faith, trying to get closer to God. People say, people go to jail to get to God. If that helps them survive, so be it, man. It was helping me. I began focusing on my case, and I had a lot of commissary family was helping me out. Had a few, I would say somebody asked in the chat, "Is anybody standing by you?" I had about 2 or 3 people in the law enforcement community that were writing me letters that made me happy. That's about it. Just those about 2 or 3 cops that stood by me. Yes, Katie. and the rest of them didn't. My family was there every week visiting me. They supported me with commissary. Commissary is critical in jail because, you know, you have the very basics, snacks, Doritos, chips. These are very small things that you take for granted. When you have it in jail, it's a luxury, you know, because all you're eating is shit food every day. 3 times a day they fed me. I think it was 4 a.m. They would put my to-go box through the door and the trap in the door, and I would sit on the floor and eat. And then at, I think it was like 1 p.m. I lost count of the time. I think it was 1 p.m. They would feed me again, put a trap in the door, the food through the trap of the door. And then at 4 p.m. is your last meal. So you would eat 3 times a day. And after that, you would eat nothing from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. You would just sit there, scream, chant, yell. You would listen to people rapping and yelling and crying, grown men screaming and fighting with the officers. We began talking. I established a relationship with all these inmates through the door. A lot of them would be crying at night. We would sit by the door. We would talk. We would tell stories. I learned a lot about these guys who, a lot of them haven't seen their kids in years. They were in the drug game, fatherless growing up. Just the typical shit story you can imagine. Every single one of them had it. I was listening to it. Took me to a roller coaster of emotions just to sit there and listen. I wasn't angry at them. I wasn't angry at anyone really, except for the state, what they did to me. But this allowed me some time to reflect and sit down and listen to other people's stories. And I really began to kind of have a sense of connection with them and understand their struggle, not justifying what they did for life. But a part of me was even talking to them saying, man, you got to stop going in and out of jail. You can't live this life. You know, you haven't seen your daughter in this many years. You want to see her? Yeah, I do. We'll stop selling dope. You know, I mean, what are you doing different? You keep coming back here. You're going back to prison now. I mean, how can you see your daughter if you're sitting here? And those are the type of things that happened. That went on for about just under 3 months. My lawyer approached me, came to the jail, and he said, hey, we got information that you're going to have your next bond hearing. The state believes you're going to get out. They believe the judge is going to grant you a bond. They can't hold you much longer. But that bond hearing was like 2 weeks away, and I wanted to get out. He said, hey, the state is making an agreement. If you take a GPS monitor bracelet and you pay for it, they'll let you out. But you have to pay for it. They don't want this. The state doesn't want to put it on the taxpayers. I said, that's fine. I'll pay for it. So they made an agreement with the bond. I never saw the judge. They signed it. I didn't know that this is a big business. Also, GPS monitors. I mean, so if you guys are thinking about doing a business out there listening, go get a GPS monitor business. They told me I had to find a company myself, and I had to pay it. I found a company. It was $320 a month. They came into the county jail. They slapped a GPS bracelet on my ankle and told me if I miss a payment, I go back to jail. So they took a deposit from my parents. They took the first month. They put a GPS bracelet on my ankle. They signed the paperwork, and they released me out on bond. That was 2016. I wouldn't see a jury trial until 2021. The next 5 years, I faced court dates, motions, hearings, more evidence, more hearings, more motions. 5 years, I was facing life in prison on a second-degree murder, which was a minimum mandatory. The lawyer told me if you're convicted, you're probably going to prison for life. It's a minimum mandatory with a firearm. So I had the life in prison hanging over my head for the next 5 years. I had a 25-year life in prison for the murder, 25 years for the attempted murder. They said I tried to kill the driver who went completely out of sight. I never did, but they were pushing that narrative, and they were helping him, coaching him to say I tried to kill him. That was their star witness because he was alive. So he was going to be their home run hitter for the entire trial. So they had him saying I tried to kill him. That was 25 years. And then the manslaughter was 15 years. I had to beat 3 charges, essentially try to prove my innocence of the 3 charges. Those next 5 years, I won't go into this. It's crazy, all the motions and hearings. But essentially, I tell you, every hearing we filed, every motion we filed was denied. We weren't granted a single motion. Through the 5 years, the judge denied every hearing, every motion that we fought for. The judge denied it. Said, nope, not going to happen. Nope. We went to a stand your ground hearing, tried to prove that I was acting in self-defense under Florida law. The judge made 2 separate hearings, which was unheard of. We're during the COVID era. We finally got a court date to have a stand your ground hearing. The judge hears the state side that lasts all day for 6 hours, 7 hours. When the judge is done with that hearing, he doesn't say, let's come back tomorrow and conclude this very critical case. He says, I'll see you guys in 6 months for the second part of this. So 6 months later, this 85-year-old judge, however old he was having dementia, according to people that were in his courtroom. 6 months later, we come back to court. This guy has heard probably 500 cases before us. And he's like, all right, today we're going to finish up the second part of the stand your ground hearing. So now we put on our side, takes him 3 days. He denies my motion, says you're not acting in self-defense. You're going to go to a jury. So of course I'm feeling like I'm defeated again in this process. Justice still is not helping or taking place. But, you know, I have no choice. The state's trying to pressure me into going to prison. And I said, we're going to fight this all the way to a jury. Jury ever appears. The American justice system has to work. When the evidence is presented, the people will see that this case doesn't make sense. We spent about a day and a half, 2 days doing jury selection during the May 2021. That's 5 years later. And we picked a jury. I had 5 women and 1 man on the jury. We still believed the state was going to drop the charges the day before. I don't know why I thought that. But jury trial started the week of May 14th, I believe. Started on a Monday. And we went through Monday through Friday. Jury trial. The state came in, brought their witnesses. They went from probably 50 witnesses down to 3 because we challenged all the witnesses. We did public records requests on them. Cops were lying. I'll tell you an example. One cop who showed up to the shooting. I want to give this picture to your viewers right now. There's a dead man in the road. There's a guy who says he was there crying, and there's a guy who shot him. Agents show up. There's a canine cop who shows up. The agent from the state of Florida says, bring that guy to my car. Let me interview him, the survivor. The canine officer goes up. He searches the guy before he gets in the car, and he says he's good to go. So during his interview, we're listening to the audio during my evidence hearing, and we hear the driver crying. And he tells the agent, I know I'm going to go to jail. And the agent says, why? He goes, for the drugs you guys found on me. The agent said, we don't care about the drugs. Tell us about the shooter. We want to know about him. That's his words. We're talking 3-4 hours. The dead man's probably not even cold yet, right? So they're trying to find what happened. So here, essentially, you have evidence. We don't care about the drugs. So we're like, what drugs are they talking about? We never saw drugs in our discovery. So we start going back through all the evidence. We can't find drugs. So we do a public records request on this canine cop. And we find out he did a report. Everyone did a report the day they were at the shooting. On this day, I responded. I did this. No further action. It has the same case number with a number added on the end. 1 for you, 2 for him, 3 for him. Everybody had a number added to their report. This canine cop does his report, and it says, on the above date and time, I responded here. Guy was going to get in the car with FDLE agents. I searched him. Nothing was found. Right? Nothing else was done. End of report. Then we find a second report done days later. Completely different case number. Not even attached to ours. Same exact narrative. On the above date and time, I responded to the shooting, came up here, searched the driver for the agent, found what appeared to be marijuana in his pocket. The agent told me to get rid of it. The marijuana was entered for disposal, for destruction, no further action. So now we're like, how the fuck can you get rid of evidence on a shooting, on a dead man? You're getting rid of evidence, which is a felony to do that. In Florida, I don't know everywhere else, you get rid of evidence on a scene of a crime, even if it's small, you're going to prison in Florida if you're convicted of it. But that's getting rid of evidence. So we see that. Now, this guy has drugs on him. Maybe he was high when he attacked me. We need to know this for the jury. We need to let them understand what was fucking going on. So we bring this cop in, and we're like, we do a deposition on him. We're like, tell us about the marijuana you found. And he goes, I never found marijuana on him. This is all in public record. A lawyer looks at him and goes, please don't do this. Tell me about the marijuana you found. He goes, I never found marijuana. So he hands him the first report. And he reads it. And he's like, yeah, I never found marijuana. He slides it back. He's like, it says it in the report. I didn't find anything. And he slides him the second report. He's like, is that your report? He looks at it. He goes, oh, shit, man, I totally forgot about that, man. I swear to God, I'm not lying to you guys. Like, I fucking forgot. This case traumatized me. He's a former cop. I've been dealing with a lot. He was listed what they call the Brady witness in Florida, which is once you get caught lying under oath, it's labeled on you. State defense attorneys and prosecutors have to know that you're a credibility issue when you go to testify. So he was listed as a Brady witness. The state attorney's office removed him immediately. He's no longer a cop today, right? The second officer was an officer who I testified against during an IA. I didn't freely go in there. They called me and said, you need to be here. You're a witness to a off-duty encounter with this officer. I walked in and said, what did you see? I said, I saw her driving. We got complaints. I pulled up. Every officer was there. She was acting like this, like that. They said, did you think she was drunk? I said, based on her demeanor, her slurred speech. I know the officer. I worked with her. based on her demeanor and all that, I said she appeared to be intoxicated. Yes, right. This was an encounter we had with an off-duty cop where people called in. So long story short, she got suspended about 40 hours for something. And she posted on social media that same week, got suspended 40 hours due to my Middle Eastern buddy. Karma's a bitch is what she put. So I took that post and I sent it to IA at the time when I was a cop. And I said, hey, look, man, I don't know what's going on, but keep in mind, this lady is armed with a gun. Like she does have a gun. She might be unstable. I don't know what's wrong with her, but she posted this just in case she fucking shoots me or something. You guys should be aware of this. And they said, no, she didn't name you in the post. We can't do nothing about it. I said, I'm the only Middle Eastern in this whole entire agency. So unless she's talking about somebody else, nonetheless, they don't do nothing about it. Well, now she's like a mid-level supervisor now the day of my shooting, and she's writing a report. So I challenged her and I said, she needs to go. She's biased. She don't like me. I don't like her. So they bring her in and they're like, tell us a little bit about your background with him. She's like, I have no problem with him. And they're like, do you have a beef with him? She's like, no. And they're like, is there a problem? Nope. Do you hang out with him? I don't hang out with him, but he's cool. So they challenge her on the arrest, and she comes out, and the state attorney's like, look, man, they're baiting you and they're going to get you. Like, you need to just be honest. And if you need to get out of here, you will, but you need to be honest. She's like, yeah, I don't like him. I fucking hate him. And she said some things about me, and then they put her as a Brady witness as well. These are cops. These are two of many that we have to deal with tainting this case. You charged me with a bullshit fucking charge. I got to fight for my life. And now you're using evil tactics and you're tainting this entire case. You're not giving me the opportunity to defend myself. And we'll go into matters even worse. Some of the viewers here might not believe this. It's going to shock them. I got to be careful what I say because my kids do watch my stuff now. They're older. But the reality of the truth is that, I was going through a bad divorce with the ex at the time. It began escalating worse, as I was out because I was seeing other females and stuff like that. It was creating emotional issues between us. And my case was 5 days. I testified to the state. The state brought in the defense brought in their witnesses. The state brought in their witnesses. And I testified to the jury why I did what I did. And that I was acting in self-defense and I had to defend myself against these two gang members. The state was done. The defense finished our testimony. They used all their evidence. Everything was done. They lost the case before the jury came out. We knew it was done. The state says, Your Honor, we have to call in one more witness we weren't expecting. We didn't know. And we're like, what's going on? They said that the defendant just testified when we asked him, this is their question. Have you ever had road rage before? They treated me as a road rage. All I said was, no, I've never had road rage before. They said, Your Honor, he lied. They said that. Your Honor, he just lied. We have a witness who's going to testify against him. They brought in my ex-wife, the mother of my two kids, married for 8 years. She gets in and walks in there, gets on the stand, raises her hand under oath, and looks at the jury. And they said, how many times has he had road rage? And she said, so many times I lost count. And they said, what were you ever in fear? She said, when he had my kids, I was in fear. He was just so angry. I didn't know. They said, how many times could you count? How many times road rage would you say? She said, countless. I lost count. And I sat there and I couldn't fucking believe what I was listening to, how the state would be so dirty to know that this is a woman who posted on social media that she defended me. On Facebook, she was fighting with people on Facebook the day of my shooting, weeks of my shooting. She was calling these guys thug gangbangers. I would have shot him if he came at me. These guys are criminals. This guy's a child predator. These people are gang thugs, pieces of shit. She was all over social media while I was in jail. I never said anything to her. She was posting for me. She did a deposition under oath. And she said the state is coming after him because he's Arab. The state is prejudiced against law enforcement. You guys are doing this. This is wrong. He should never be in jail. And the state brought her in, and they turned her whole story around. She testified against me. And the jury, luckily through the grace of God, of course, and to testimony, the jury is not stupid. Jury of my peers. This is why I still believe in the justice system today, because if all else fails, the government are tyrants and they try to come after you and they try to lie on you. Stick to your guns and get a jury trial. Allow a jury of your peers to come in and see what's actually happened. Allow them to challenge the evidence, challenge everything the state throws, challenge their statements, challenge their witnesses. Don't be afraid to go after their witnesses and call them out in front of a jury. And that was 5 days of a jury trial. It was a 4.5-hour deliberation. It was a Friday night. It was 9:30 at night. We're sitting in the courtroom. Keep in mind, Ben Crump was in our county 2 days prior to my verdict because the sheriff's office that I worked for had shot two African-American males in a traffic stop and killed them. and Ben Crump came to protest. So we were nervous. We were nervous that the mob mentality was going to flood my case. So we really had to be prepared for anything. I talked to my family, my parents. We had made arrangements the best that we could. If anything goes south, we're going to take care of your kids. My mom, my parents, we're going to visit you all the time. We're going to do everything we can. Just stay strong. It's a hopeless feeling. Your parents look at you, say, son, we love you. There's nothing we can do. We're going to be there for you, So we prepared for the worst. And at 9:30, by the way, the judge said, if you're guilty tonight, you're going to prison. You're going to jail until you get sentenced. And I asked the judge, because I've seen it happen many years of my career as a cop, where defendants get what's called a quarterman's bond. They're allowed to get out and promise to appear for your sentencing to go to prison and get your affairs in order, close your apartments, pay all your debts, get your kids' situations in order, make sure if you have custody of your children, they go to the right person. The judge said no. He denied me the opportunity, said, if you're convicted tonight, you're going to jail. Looked at my lawyer, said, man, there's nothing going to fucking be in my favor at all. Can I not get my life and my family's life organized before I'm fucking sent away for life? And he said, that's what the judge said. So 9:30 at night, we're sitting in the courtroom. It was 4.5 hours. I couldn't eat food. I couldn't do anything. Family was eating food. We were sitting there, and the deputy opened up the doors, said, hey, the verdict is in. Is a fucking death sentence, it's tough to think about, man, to be honest with you. It's hard, So we go inside. I'm prepared for the worst. I'm sitting there waiting. The verdict comes out. I got three charges I got to beat, essentially, at this case. I don't say beat like I have to lie about it. This jury has to see the facts of this case. I was defending myself against 2 known gang members documented in the state of Florida. Blood gang members from Chicago. They come out, and the judge, hands the verdict over to the girl, and she reads the first count, second-degree murder. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. I closed my eyes, and I was praying for the second count, the attempted murder. I said, we, the jury, find the defendant second-degree murder not guilty. Closed my eyes even harder, because I knew once that verdict was over, the manslaughter was thrown out. All 3 charges were dismissed immediately right there. And hugged my lawyer. There's a photo on social media where I stuck my head into my lawyer's shoulder and I cried. He's been my lawyer for the years coming. Him and another lawyer, they stuck by my side. And it was just a feeling. I looked up, one of the jurors was blowing kisses at me when she was walking out. It was just one of the greatest feelings in the world. It was hurtful to think about. It still hurts today when I think about it. It's just really emotions of pain, of the struggle you have to go through, but nobody gives a fuck really about your feelings. And I learned to get strong mentally about that. That's the photo right there. I put it in a frame. It's framed up. I'll show that to my grandkids and anything. That's a picture of my life right there, summed up and everything. I was tired. I was emotionally drained. And my lawyer, he was exhausted. He told me, this is an attorney well-respected in Orlando. He said, I never invest myself in my cases. I was invested. My family was invested. He said, I got to tell you, man, I was nervous because I would have been he said, I would have had a hard time watching you go to prison. I knew you didn't deserve this. And this is one of those cases where he said, I knew this was a bad fucking arrest. He said, it was tough, but to sum it all up in the good news, man, the jury did the right thing. I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful to God. But it's one of these instances where we watched videos of the family after, and they were protesting, and they said in the chants, we protested. We chanted at the state attorney's office front door for days, and we demanded they get an arrest warrant, and they did. And today he's sitting in jail. And we're going to do the same thing. We're flooding them with emails. We're threatening them. We're going to make sure this guy gets convicted and goes to prison. We're not going to stop until they send him to prison. And that's the type of pressure they were dealing with. And that's why I say they didn't care about my life. My life never mattered to them. And essentially, your life and others out here that are American citizens that will defend yourself when it comes to the politics, when it comes to the race baiters, when it comes to the politics of this thing, man, truly they will get rid of the Constitution. They will taint it with bullshit evidence, and they will throw your ass in jail. And essentially, if you can fight for yourself, go ahead. We spent well over donations over 100,000 on attorney fees. But how many people don't have money? How many people can't defend themselves in this system where they are forced to take a plea deal because they're afraid of going to prison for life because they don't have the representation or a public defender who's tired and is like, dude, take a plea deal. Like, you're going to lose. You're going to go to prison. Take a plea deal. And they're going off. The state attorney's office has many advantages that they hold against people. and they use it and they lie. You know, I'm not, listen, I went back and became a deputy again for some time to clear my name up. And the state attorney's office has a job to do. They have to prosecute criminals, but they should do that without doing side shit on the side and being unethical. When they see a case that they believe is going to help them promote themselves, you know, you want to get promoted. Don't throw another police officer or a nurse or someone under the bus because you want to use a name and go, I arrested this political person. I arrested this cop. I'm the one, you know, because I'm godly. I have faith and I believe in ethics, and they stand there and they're fucking dirty people, man, to do shit like that, to stand in front of people and to lie, to sleep at night knowing you're fucking railroading not just one person, you're ruining his life, his family, his children, all for the power of politics. It's a tough thing, and we're seeing it today, essentially, in what other stuff you talk about, what we talk about in the anti-hero. But don't let me forget to tell you what happened with this guy, the driver.
Well, tell me what happened. Let's go.
Fast forward, 2021, I'm cleared. Everything is done. I get rehired at the Sheriff's Office, Brevard County Sheriff's Office. I always have to give them a shout out. Sheriff Wayne Ivey. Anybody watching this, look him up. He's the best sheriff in the country. Sheriff Wayne Ivey always supported me. Always said from day one I was acting in self-defense. The state took over and arrested me. So Sheriff Wayne Ivey, when the case was over, I reached out and I said, I want my job back. And he said, come on over. Come get your job back. You did nothing wrong. I went through the hiring process again. Of course, my family was scared, and everybody will ask, why the fuck would you go back? It was something I had to do to clear my name. The state took me out. They basically laughed at me and said, I won't be a cop again. I didn't care about being a cop anymore. I cared about clearing my name. I wanted to make sure people out there who survived this, that's him right there. Greatest sheriff in the country, guys. I promise you. He's a constitutional sheriff. He stands to the Constitution and believes that for all citizens. He doesn't allow his deputies to infringe on that. And that's why I love him so much. But I went back, cleared my name, and I wanted to make sure anyone going through a struggle, no, there's what's with the guys here? Anti-hero.
Anti-hero says, what's with the guys here? I would just say that you have a producer that loves producing for you so much that he dyed his fucking hair the color of your logo. So shut the fuck up, you fucking cunts. I wish Josh would dye his hair red, white, and blue. Fair stop, but you know what?
The mustache.
We'll send Josh to Anti-Hero and we'll take Yousef. I'm just joking. So 221, you're cleared. You're back at the LEO.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
I went back to the sheriff's office, got cleared, went through training, got back on the road. You know, had that fear of going back to the road, shooting somebody again, potentially. People were upset that I was rehired. Sheriff said, fuck off, who cares? He got cleared by a jury, go somewhere, you know? So I get back on the road. I handle my calls. I went to a few gun calls, guy with a gun, suicidal, shot himself. And a couple different, things that I've been through that kind of allowed me to get back into the groove again. Long story short, I did a little bit, about a year, less than a year, something like that. And then I decided to leave. And continue on business with my family. I had already gotten enough closure in my heart, closure in my mind. I could sleep at night knowing that I cleared my name. I went back and I did everything I needed to do. So I did. So 2023, last year in December, I got notified, and news media reached out to me and said, hey, are you aware of this guy, the driver of your case, he's been arrested? I said, no, I wasn't. So they reached out to me to do a Zoom with me. And the driver of my case was driving his car on the same road, Emerson Drive, that I was on. Imagine a big city, 100 square miles the city was. This guy's on the same road, Emerson Drive. Encounters two females in a car, becomes angry at them during his drive, and tries to push their car off the road, according to their own affidavit. And then during that encounter, they said he drives on the wrong side of the road and tries to run him off the road. Remember, the agents told me I was lying. Why would this guy do that? What did you do to him? I said, nothing. And they were like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And now you have two females in a car. He tries to run him off the road. He drives on the wrong side of the road. He's enraged, according to their affidavit. They then go down a side street. They try to get to their fiance. Fiance comes running out the house. He follows them down the road. He swerves his vehicle, tries to run over the fiance. In the process of him trying to run over the fiance, his car gets stuck in a ditch. He bails out of the car and gets picked up by another vehicle and flees the scene. The officers get all his information. They go interview him. He admits to it. He gets arrested. He gets charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a motor vehicle, DUI, and driving on a suspended license. It was silent. They didn't say a word. It was quiet. Nobody talked about it. He went to jail, got bonded out less than 8 hours later. So here he is, the star witness, the state's #1 innocent victim, gang member. They wonder why these guys do shit. They wonder why these career criminals do stuff. And they asked me, why would he do that? I said, because he's a piece of shit scumbag. That's why. You got to ask him why he did that. You're asking me why he attacked me. He came after me. Now he did this to 2 more victims. Hopefully they'll sue the shit out of him, because I couldn't do anything. Qualified immunity, the government was protected by charging me. I couldn't do anything. I lost everything, essentially. I had to just suck it up and move on, which I'm grateful to be free. But hopefully this family will do something about it. It was 1 week before Christmas. He almost killed him. He didn't learn his lesson by his passenger being killed on the first incident where he drove. Now he's doing the same thing, not realizing that, you're going to run up on somebody again that's going to defend themselves with a gun. Luckily, he didn't kill these women, or they didn't kill him, so, and now he's awaiting trial. Jose Montanez, that's his name. He's a blood gang member from Chicago, documented in the state of Florida. Him and his boy that both died, the boy that died, documented blood gang members from Chicago. And the only thing people can say is this rogue cop, this white officer, killed this young black man who was innocently gunned down like a dog in the road. No, this guy attacked people for a living. He might have loved his kids. A lot of people love their kids, and they're shitty people to others. This guy attacked me, and he's done it multiple times. Gun charges, child porn, and the people are really coming out and calling me a rogue officer and a piece of shit. And then here you go. They send me to jail. The state is proud. Here's your star witness now. Wonder how they're going to defend this in court.
I've said on the show before that the more tattoos and the shittier you appear and the shittier you act in court, the more likely, you are going to get off easier. I've said that I've been in court and seen known gang members with the biggest rap sheets come up for DUI, have it thrown out on some bullshit charge, and the judge will talk to them like, okay, Mr. Jose, listen, so what we're going to do now is we're going to walk right over here to the court reporter, and you're just going to fill out some paperwork for us, and we're going to get you squared away, and then we're going to have a trial. We're going to be back in here tomorrow at 3 p.m. It's really important that you're here at 3 p.m. Is that okay? You have a blue-collar anybody walk up with the same charge. They'll be like, head right over there, fill that out, be in here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. If you're not here, I'll hold you in contempt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as a cop, I've sat in there, and I've been like, why is it that the biggest pieces of shit get treated so politely and kindly in the courts and always get their shit dismissed, and the people who have never fucked up before get the strong end of the law? And I think it's because maybe it's because so the judges can get voted back in. I don't have an answer for it, but I've said it 1,000 times. And like, go sit in court and see it for yourself. Like, it's crazy. It's almost like the shittier the person is, the more likely they're going to get a deal.
And this guy, let me just tell you a little bit more for the viewers. This guy was tattooed up. I have a lot of tattoos. This guy was tattooed up full of gang tattoos. He had the blood stars on his chest. It said BMB, something for Bloods. He had the pistol tattooed. He had like a Grim Reaper with a gun. Like, he had a bunch of gang tattoos that they had. So the defense wants to show the picture of him dead to influence the jury. And they have this picture of him, and they take the jury out. They go, Judge, we can't show the pictures of his tattoos. This is on his fucking body. We can't show the pictures of his tattoos. That's the driver, Jose. That's the one that I never shot at, that was testifying against me. The gang member, by the way, the Stone Cold Street Blood gang member who's supposed to be a thug. In all his pictures, he's throwing up gang signs. He's got a bandana. This is a gang member who shows up to court and says, he never gave me a chance, who ran up on the wrong one, essentially, right? That's him right there. Look at the red, representing his gang, proud, running up on people. And when you get street justice, that's what happens. You cry in court. He's a pussy, essentially, is what he is. But this guy's on the table, tattooed up. The state argues that the jury is going to be prejudiced, so they can't show the tattoos. So we argue it. The judge agrees and goes, yeah, we're not going to show the jury his tattoos. So they take sticky notes and they cover up on the slide. They cover up all his tattoos with sticky notes. So here you have a picture of a dead guy laying on a table with his eyes open, and all you see is all these yellow sticky notes all over his body. and the jury's looking at him and the family's crying, and they want the jury to see this picture of this poor man. He's dead on the table from this rogue cop, but you're not seeing the gun tattoos, the blood gangs on his chest. You're not seeing any of that, the life that he lived. Everything is turned against you, at least for me as a defendant.
Isn't that crazy? It's like, why don't we get that benefit? Like, why doesn't somebody like Daniel Penny, who has an impeccable life career, like being a Marine and being a pacifist and being religious and going on a religious journey to find his true self in pacifism, makes his way to the big city of New York, and then is confronted with this other very trajected, like an actual man. I mean, listen, I get it that the guy Daniel Penny killed, like his mother was murdered when he's young. Like, there's a reason why he was a piece of shit. I'm not telling you that I wouldn't be a piece of shit if you murdered my mother and threw her in a suitcase and found her on the Manhattan Bridge when I was 13. I get it. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is that guy chose to be a huge piece of shit after that. Again, I would probably still be a huge piece of shit myself. But when you live by the sword, you have to know that there are going to be guys that didn't have that kind of lifestyle, that are living the life of a righteous path and are mentally more stable than you. And they're probably going to fucking kill you or at least meet you on that battlefield. And what happens is going to happen. So, but why the fact do they not tell the story of Daniel Penny and his side of the story, but they'll make you feel sorry for the guy, but they won't tell you then, like, yeah, does this guy rob people and beat people up and had all these assault charges? Like, why is it so important that we take this individual that chose a life of shit? Why do we just try to convince you that he does? It makes no sense to me. It's like, what is the agenda here? And like I said, man, I've had my own trials with people that I've arrested. They're known pieces of shit. It's laughable at what kind of a piece of shit that they are. And that society is definitely worse off with them in it. And the judge, like, without any kind of care in the world, will just be empathetic and nice and overplay and let him off of all of the charges or dismiss the majority of the charges and give him the very lightest of sentences. But they'll take the school teacher, they'll take the nurse, they'll take the first responder, they'll take the banker, the blue collar worker that's never, the construction worker that's, busting his balls trying to, work with his family and his, all these things. And they will throw the book at him and then make them feel bad about what little crime that they committed. They're like, oh, so you had this DUI that caused an accident. Yeah, like, it sucks and it's bad. But like the piece of shit that gets in the DUI, you're like, listen, it can happen to any of us. It can happen. Yeah. And you're like, what? I've heard that with my own ears. I'm like, yeah. What do you mean it can happen to any of us? Like, I don't drink and drive. It can't happen to me. And so it's the agenda, the politics, we're seeing it now. We're seeing it on this crazy level of just weaponization of the DOJ. Imagine being the woman who's in rehab and finds a journal left behind in your halfway house, and you open up the journal to see that it's Ashley Biden's journal, and the first page thing that you see is that she's addicted to sex because of inappropriate showers and conversations with her brother and her father. And you take it to the police, and the police tell you, you can have it back. We've done our research. We've documented it. We've taken the pictures. You can have it back. And she's like, well, I don't want this. And so she finds somebody. Then they call her back and say, we have a media outlet that will buy that from you. And she's like, I mean, okay, I turned it over to the cops. I gave it back. And now a media outlet wants to buy it from me. Sure. And she sells it for I think it was like $20,000 or something like that. You can fact check me if you want, Josh. I can't remember the exact number, but she sells it as anybody would. And now she is sitting in jail for this. She's sitting in jail for, she did nothing wrong. And you have this sitting president who may or may not have taken inappropriate showers with a daughter that's created her to be not only addicted to drugs and their son addicted to drugs, but also addicted to sex. A very vivid $40,000. I was off by 20 G's. Excuse me. $40,000, which again, anyone would take in this given situation. She's now sitting in jail for this. We got Daniel Holtzclaw, the Holtzclaw case, which was highly politicized, where there was zero evidence. Actually, there was an insurmountable amount of evidence that shows that Daniel Penny did not do the crimes, that these witnesses were caught lying on the stand, that apologized, that went through their civil suit, lost the civil suit, and apologized and stopped testifying in their civil suit and broke down in tears because they lied in the real. And Daniel Penny is still in jail for 260 years for a crime he did not commit as a cop. We know he didn't commit these crimes. We know the evidence isn't there, and yet they still keep him there because politically it would look bad if they admitted to this very poor investigation on Daniel Holtzclaw. These things do not sit well. I see Katie K in the chats. I encourage you, Katie, to go listen to our Daniel Holtzclaw series 1, 2, and 3 and look into the Daniel Holtzclaw case. It's a very depressing case, and it's sad, and it should sit unwell with you. And then you say, well, why? Why should we listen to this? My own father says things like this to me. So why do I need to lose sleep? And I can't understand in my brain the selfishness of this, because me being a protector or wanting to help other human beings, as you are, right? Most cops have this protector mindset. I believe that knowing is half the battle. I believe that just your feeling, your gut feeling of this is not right, is a little bit, that is contributing to solving some of these things. If enough people don't feel right about this, if enough people post on social media about this, you don't know what those ramifications can be. Case in point, the amount of information from independent journalists posting memes and what we call shit posts has now led to a deep state completely being uncovered and completely becoming unhinged, and are now like trying to literally shut down your internet. They're literally trying to silence a president under the ruse of COVID that doesn't really exist anymore for all intents and purposes. Somebody who's been vaxxed to the max, quadruple max, are trying to tell you that this gentleman has COVID and he can't make it to his meetings. I mean, but that is because knowing is half of the battle. Yeah. Simply knowing these things and being able to articulate these things really is half the battle. I can't stress that. Knowing cases like Yousef's case is half of the fucking battle. You knowing it, sharing it with one other person, me knowing it, sharing it with one. You don't know which one of these people is going to hear this story, is going to retell the story. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be Katie K. Katie K has been all up in our chats. I don't know who this person is. She's been all up in our chats. She's got her dad from the 82nd Airborne listening to this case. How do you think her dad from the 82nd Airborne retired? How do you think he feels? You think he's going to tell this story maybe to one other person? He might. Katie K is going to tell this to 2 or 3 people. And we don't know what that does, but knowing is really half of the battle. Sharing your story, reliving that story, having the courage, Yousef, to retell your story, to not only live this moment, but to open up a store to support law enforcement, shows your character. It shows what kind of guy you are. And we shouldn't judge a book by its cover with its fucked up hair color, its piercings and ungodly tattoos. I'm joking. I kid. I have a mullet. I'm just joking. But Yousef, we love that you're a part of the team, man, that you're part of the network, and that you're working with the Anti-Hero podcast. I know that's why your hair is green right now. I would have to guess. Yep. Is it for the, and that's fucking rad, and that's the pride, the highest esprit de corps, that should be celebrated and not shamed. Yousef, that is so cool, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you just as a human being, as somebody who fought for this, because this was my biggest fear. And I don't think I'm going to have to live this fear out, thank God. But knowing somebody that did live through this and came out on the other side and came out better makes me want to support your business. There's a lot of people in our live chats now that I think would like to support your business. How can we support you? Where can we follow you? What store do you have? How can we contribute?
I'm on social media, 1838 Tax Supply. That's my store in Orlando. I will have our Shopify will be up. I kept saying next week we're trying to get our cart fixed because we do sell. That's not it. It's 18 taxsupply38.com. That's our Shopify. We just had to get our cart fixed because we were selling barrels and gun parts, and you can't. Yep, that's it. That's our website. You can come check us out here in Orlando. You can follow the Anti-Hero podcast. I'm part of that podcast. And also you can follow me on Instagram, anti_hero_Yousef. That's my Instagram. Yep. We do sell stuff on there. I have to get my cart fixed. So That's the only thing. I have to get my code put in there. I should have that done hopefully over the weekend, and then there'll be stuff available. Everything is in stock that's on the website, and I have a lot more inventory to add. But I'm just giving back now, man. I'll say this: never take life for granted. Yep. We just had John Mattingly on, who was in the Breonna Taylor case. He was the officer that got shot when they breached the door. He was shot by Breonna Taylor's boyfriend. We had him on. We interviewed Eddie Gallagher like a month ago. Great guy. I talked to him. He wants me on his podcast, but we'll see him again in October with you guys. And Kyle Rittenhouse, I haven't seen him yet, but I'll see him in October. I'll just go back to my point. Never take life for granted. Anybody listening to this every day is a blessing. Yep. That's him right there.
What name does KDK want us to drop in the chat? I'm missing that. I don't know, whatever name it is. I tried to write Yousef in the chats, and the chat said that it goes against the standards of community. It says YouTube rejected your comment due to spam, and I did that from failure to stop. So this is our channel, our live stream. I can't even comment your name, which is ridiculous. But his name is Yousef Hafza. It's YOUSEF HAFZAS. ZA. I'm sorry, yeah. Apostrophe S. Hafza's the self-defense story. I was reading it on the title here. So, but yeah, for some reason, it won't even let us put your name in here, which is very strange to me. Very weird. Very weird.
Like I said, if there's anybody out there, my personal page is anti_hero_Yousef, YOUSEF. You can find me on there on Instagram. I just created that page just because there's a lot of followers on Anti-Hero. We got a big following. I think it's up to like 63,000 subscribers now. And there's quite a few people in the comments asking me questions. I smoke hookah during the podcast. The guys smoke cigars. I smoke hookah. So
because you're fucking Muslim.
Yeah. So
are you a Muslim?
I am Muslim. Yeah. And I do speak Arabic. Yep.
Oh shit. I actually have a prayer rug behind me that I bought in Afghanistan like 20 something years ago. But it's sitting behind me. It's cool. It's a cool prayer rug. That's just me showing you that I'm not culturally retarded. I have a black friend. Right. I'm just kidding.
And listen, when you go through something like what I went through, you learn to have thick skin, man. It's there's no other way you can humiliate me, and not you in general. When some people say stuff to me in the chats and messages, they don't like me, or they say things they don't know me. But the thing is, when you go through what I went through, you're naked for a week in a jail cell, you're cold, you're shivering, you're facing life in prison. When God opens these doors for you the way he has for me now, I don't care about negative shit, man. I laugh with people. I do whatever I want. I dye my hair. I go do what the fuck I want to do. Yeah. And it doesn't affect you. Your opinion doesn't affect me in terms of people. So essentially, I don't care. I like it. I don't mind it. Even with the whole Muslim thing, people might not like Muslims or Arabs. Yep, that's my website. So they'll say things about me, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my life at all. It doesn't change. It won't change. It won't change my bills today, or it won't change my bills tomorrow. It won't affect how I hang out with my kids. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
You can't. KDK says that we know her. I've never seen her in the chats before. Have you? Who's KDK?
Do I know her?
No, I'm talking to Deadleg. I was talking to Deadleg, but he's muted. He's probably taking a piss or something.
No, I'm here. I'm just going back and forth.
Who is KDK? What am I missing something here?
I'm not sure.
Oh, his store. She said his store. I went out with the dude who took me to hookah joint with all his Arab buddies.
I'm woke.
You went to hookah with? Is she talking about with me or?
Oh, with you? She didn't go to a hookah line with me. I don't smoke hookah.
I don't know.
I'm American. I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
Well, we have hookah on the podcast, so.
I know. That's what I've heard. My wife, when I first met her, she did hookah. She was like trying to get me to do hookah. I was like, no, I'm not fucking doing that. I'll smoke a cigar like a real American man. I'm just kidding. Again, I'm just an uncultured fuck. Teresa Plover says, thank you so much for sharing your story. It did need to be told. I agree it needed to be told. And you're welcome to come on here anytime, Yousef, to break down any cases.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you supporting too. Buying those. Did you buy the Ranger panties or you bought the regular shorts?
I bought multiple things. I bought the tiger. I bought 2 of the tiger stripe shorts, the camouflage tiger stripe ones, and then like the pink blue colored tiger stripe shorts.
Yeah, the Combat Iron makes some awesome clothes.
I bought the matching hat.
Yep.
Yeah, so the ones at the bottom
right
left, I bought those, and then I bought the camouflage, the actual camouflage ones. They're not silkies though. They're the athletic shorts.
Yeah, I have those. Yeah, the athletic shorts. They're on there
Yep.
too. They're listed as well.
Yeah, I like that. Not the Ranger pant, not the Silkies. I bought the athletic ones. They're one of my favorite pairs of shorts. I also bought the real Tiger Stripe camouflage ones, and then I bought the combat apparel hat, panty dropper hat.
Yeah,
and then I bought refracted wolf apparel Ranger panties.
this one.
I bought the. Which one does that one say? Spread cheeks, not hate. Love it. I love it. Yeah, I love all that stuff now. I'm wearing them. I'm wearing the shorts right this second. So, and then I'll be getting on the plane with them. So you guys will see pictures of me here shortly. If anybody's in Pittsburgh, wants to get up with me, I'll be in Pittsburgh the next couple of days. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, you're gonna have to DM me at Eric Tansey Official on my Instagrammies. Go and follow Anti-Hero Podcast on Instagram, Spotify, iTunes. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Leave me a 5-star rating and review right here on Failure to Stop. It goes a long way. It's the best way for you to support this show and keep it on the air. I can't express to you how much. Katie K, you've chatted with us enough. We shouted your name out enough. Go leave me a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or Spotify, wherever it's that you listen to this podcast. For those of you on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe and hit that little bell, that little dingle-dangle, that dingle-dangle in front of you, so that lets you know when we're going live. We provide lots of shows all week long, starting with Mondays. Tuesdays, we have some roundtable stuff going down. Wednesdays, political news. Thursdays, sports. Fridays, yada, yada, all the things. And then we have the new website coming, which we'll add Yousef's website to a hyperlink on the new website coming out. It's going to try to link all of these things together. 2 cops, 1 donut shop, all that things. But as you know, like with your cart, like this stuff is incredibly difficult to do. Producing, everybody's like, how do we get this thing done now? You know, it doesn't happen overnight. But can't wait to see you in October, brother. And we'll see you. Kingslayer Democles says, I wasn't the troll this time. Damn it, Damocles. Not this time. It was KDK though. No, not Spirit Airlines, but thanks for asking. All right, guys, until next time. Thanks again, Yousef. Guns up. Giddy up.
Bye-bye.